Welcome back. I'm that Halloween movie collector, Pat. And this week I am going to be ranked. So now I did my review of the 70s Kiss studio albums, the 80s Kiss studio albums, and there was a decent amount because you figured the 70s there were 7 studio albums, and the 80s there was 8 studio albums. But between 1992 and 2012, there is only 5 studio albums. So I figured let's just combine them. There's no reason to do 2 here, 3 there. So I'm going to be ranking the Kiss studio albums from 1992 to 2012, their last official studio album. So let's do this. Number 5, released on October 28th, 1997, Carnival of Souls, The Final Sessions. Now, this was a bit of a controversial album because it was fully recorded by February of 96, and it was due to be released, and it got shelved because of Kiss Unplugged was a huge hit on MTV, and that's what sparked a reunion tour. So this album was shelved for like another year. Obviously, it came out in 97. And what happened during that time, right before that, it was pretty much the age of grunge. Grunge, people don't realize how big. If you were my age in the 90s, grunge was huge, and I loved it. I loved Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam. Soundgarden, one of my favorite bands. So I love the grunge thing. I didn't see the need for the big downfall of metal because I'm a metal guy. I loved them both, but it was just people don't realize how much it just like grunge came in, Nirvana came in, and everything just went. Metal was gone. Nobody cared about it. It was just not cool anymore, and you didn't even hear it. It was strange time. But this album is basically Kiss's grunge album, and it's very heavy. It's very dark, very haunting, and I like it. Is it the worst album in the world? No. Is it one of their best albums? No, because that was the problem with Kiss. I love Kiss to death, but they always chased trends to stay on top, and it's just a fact. But it's got some good stuff on it, like Jungle, Childhood's End, Hate, I Will Be There, Master and Slave. There's a decent amount of decent songs on here. And if you like the grungier, heavier shit and a little experimental stuff, it's kind of cool. And you even get a vocal from Bruce Kulick on here, too. And then, unfortunately, he was out the door, stepped aside, and we know Eric Singer would eventually return. Number 4, released on October 9th, 2012, the last official Kiss studio album, Monster. Now, this wasn't a bad album. You know, it lands number 4 because I've said in these rankings before, I love these albums. I don't hate, there's not one Kiss album I despise. There's some I like more than others. I just love Kiss. And this is number 4 for the fact that it just is where my personal taste. But it has some good songs, surprisingly good songs on it. And I did see this tour, and they were great. So, you know, I do like this album. It did get a lot of hate, but I kind of like it. Obviously, the big breakout hit or their single was Hella Hallelujah, but Shout Mercy is my favorite song on the album. I think it's just great. I love the riff in it. All for the Love of Rock and Roll, Eat Your Heart Out, Freak. There's some good songs on here, so I kind of I liked it. I listened to it a lot when it first came out, and I haven't listened to it in years. And when I started doing my rankings, I broke it out, and I've been listening to it over and over again, and realizing it's a really good album. It's got some great stuff on it. If you give it a chance, you know, some people just didn't give it a chance, but I say give it a chance. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good listen. Number 3, released on October 6th, 2009, Sonic Boom. Now, this was great because it was the first studio album to feature Tommy Thayer on it. So everybody was looking forward to it. And yeah, you know, he kind of got a lot of shit for sounding way too much like Ace Frehley. But you know what? They said they were going to go back to the 70s root, try to get that 70s sound. And they really, really did. I mean, yeah, you can hear Ace Frehley all over this record. But there's some really good songs on it. Obviously, the single, Modern Day Delilah, was the big hit single, and I like it. It wasn't really my favorite song on the album, but I do like it. Got Never Enough, Say Yeah was the big song too. Russian Roulette, I Am an Animal. There's some good solid songs on here. So for those that gave it a lot of shit at the time, go back and give it another listen. These are the new. I admittedly, if I'm going to listen to Kiss, honestly, it's pretty much the 70s and then the 80s. But now that I'm revisiting these, doing these rankings, I'm going back and I'm really starting to digest these songs again. And I liked them at the time, but I just, I just always go back to the other songs that I grew up with, and I'm really liking them again. So that's what's nice about doing this ranking. It's making me go back and revisit this stuff, and it's been really good. Number two, released on September 22nd, 1998, Psycho Circus. Now, everybody was anticipating this because this was going to be the first new album with all four original members since Love Gun. I mean, you can argue Dynasty because there's one song on there with Peter Criss and he didn't play on the rest of it. So you can argue that's Dynasty was probably the last one to feature all four because at least Peter Criss was there for one. But a full album, it was Love Gun. But everybody was anticipating this, and I do like it. And the Psycho Circus tour, the 3D stuff was a little hokey, but I enjoy this album. I love Psycho Circus, Within, Into the Void, Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll, We Are One, Raise Your Glasses. There's a lot of fun stuff, and they've tried to go do the anthemic route and make it that anthemic thing. And the sad part of it is the same trap. It wasn't majority of the record wasn't the original band. So yeah, that kind of when that came out, it kind of spoiled it. But I still like it, like the tour because it was original guys on the tour, so it was a lot of fun, and it's a good listen to this day. Love the video for Psycho Circus, and it was like a kid's dream come true. That whole era, 96 to 98, 99, because I never saw Kiss in the 70s. As much as I begged my parents to take us, they never did. So 96 to like 99, 2000 was an amazing time in my life because I could actually go see the original Kiss. It was amazing. So yeah, so that's another thing probably why this is so high up on this list. And number one, released May 19th, 1992, Revenge. Now, this is probably one of my favorite Kiss albums. It's up there. It's just got some great songs on it. It's, of course, it was sad because it was dedicated to the late great Eric Carr. It was the first album to not feature him on it, with the exception of God Gave Rock and Roll to You. And they brought Eric Singer in, who was an amazing drummer. Came from one of my other favorite bands from the 80s too, Badlands. Love Badlands. And everybody was excited when they decided to give Bob Ezrin one more chance and said, okay, look, you kind of blew the last one. Don't do it again. Let's see what we can do here. They brought him in and just created a phenomenal album. Very well produced. Great songs on here. Everything from Unholy was the breakout hit on MTV because they had the video on MTV. Domino, Take It Off, Every Time I Look at You. Just some great songs. And this is, I can argue that this might be the pinnacle of Paul Stanley's voice. I mean, because he was just singing amazing. I mean, even between 92 and probably 96, it was just amazing, especially if you listen to the Unplugged album where he sings. It's just, his voice was just incredible during this time frame. And not that it was bad before that, but he was just singing, and this is just an opinion from listening to the music, like his voice was stellar. Other great songs like Spit, Thou Shalt Not, and the Car Jam 81, where they did a little tribute to Eric Carr with the drum solo on the end of it. Amazing album, and it's touted as one of their, pretty much like their comeback album because, the late 80s and the early 90s were very slim. It was basically a mirror image of the early 80s for them, where they were kind of falling out of favor. And I do remember, sad as it sounds, I saw them twice on the Revenge tour, and I remember, seeing most of the upper level empty, open seats. Never saw that at a Kiss concert before, and the concert was cool. They had like the skeleton with the Statue of Liberty torch thing. So things were kind of down on the downslide, and this gave them a little injection because the album did pretty well and it was well received. And of course, the rest is history because we know what happened a few years later, and it just blew up. The live worldwide tour just absolutely blew up. I was front and center 2 nights at the Madison Square Garden. Just amazing. So that is my ranking of the Kiss studio albums from 1992 to 2012, the studio albums, right from to the very last studio album, and probably the last studio album, because, never say never, but they're on their umpteenth, farewell tour. Supposedly this is the end of the road tour, And Paul Stanley said they have pretty much no interest in making any music. I mean, they'll probably do something on their own here and there. He's got his soul band on the side, which is pretty good. But as far as new Kiss material, that's it. Now they're coming out with all that off the soundboard stuff, which I only have a few of them. I got to get back on and get caught up with that. But that is this ranking, and the next ranking will probably be the last of... No, am I saying dud? No. I'm going to do a ranking of the soul albums from 78, because there's a lot to talk about there. And the ranking of the live albums, not the official live albums. I'm not going to start doing not that Off the Soundboard isn't official, but that might be something later down the road. But I'll just do the regular live albums, Kiss Symphony, Alive 1, 2, 3, that type of stuff. So if you're a Kiss fan, there'll be some more Kiss stuff coming. And make sure you check out my review of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Drop a link right up here. That was a great time going through all that. If you're a fan of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, such a fun movie. Go check it out. Make sure you like this video. Hopefully you find some other stuff on the channel you like. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you'll find some other stuff on here. Kiss does go hand in hand with horror. And there'll be other Kiss content on here. There's tons of horror content on here. Lots of Halloween content. Some comedy. All that happy horse shit. There's all sorts of shit. So check it out if you like any of it. By all means, like, subscribe, comment, all that shit that everybody always tells you to do. So leave your comments below. Let me know your ranking. I like to hear because very divisive, because some people are old school where they just like the 70s and maybe the early 80s. And these are the later albums. So I'd be curious to hear other people's rankings. So don't be shy. I always answer back. I don't bite. So comment below, and until then, I'll talk to you soon.